tell in a different way, but that baby was there. So if you didn't catch me in the videos, guys, my name is Tara, one of the keepers here in Australia. We have Shani, the mum, she's an 8-year-old female. And then we have the baby, who's an 8-month-old female. Very, very cute. And then we have one of our males next door, who's Bundi. He's going on 5. Now, the word koala means no drink in Aboriginal. So if you go to a park or a zoo and you see the koala drinking water, let us know. It's pretty unusual that we do see a lot of water intake from these guys because they get a lot from their trees. But I have been researching for 19 years, and in the last year and a bit, I'm finding more and more koalas coming to ground and drinking the water source. So it's not a good thing. That means that climate change is real and there's not enough water in the trees anymore. So if these guys do come on the ground more often in the wild, predators, humans, they're going to get hurt a lot. Now, as she's walking around, if she does, you can look at her feet, her digits, her fingers and toes. They have 2 thumbs on each hand and 3 fingers. Very, very sharp claws. Their arms and legs are super strong so they can climb up those big trees. On their feet, you're a snob, Sean. On those feet, it's a bit warm out here, so. On those feet, they've got 1 toe without a claw that looks like a thumb, and 1 toe with 2 claws. Now, every marsupial has that 1 toe with 2 claws. It's called a grooming claw. I can say it perfectly, but you're facing the wrong way. Every marsupial has that 1 toe with 2 claws. So evolution has fused the first and second toe together. It fused it to the knuckle, and it kept the grooming claw. So these guys, or marsupials, do use it as a grooming claw. She's big and fluffy. Okay, a lot of New South Wales female koalas aren't like her. I call her an inland koala, and then you get your koalas that are smaller and not as fluffy, and we call them coastal koalas. So inland, they have to be thicker in the coat to keep warmer. Coastal tends to be, not at the moment, but a little bit more sun. So the hotter the climate, smaller the animal. Cooler the climate, bigger the animal. So in Australia, we get koalas on the east coast of Australia. They're extinct in Western Australia. They haven't been found in the Northern Territory, and fossils have been found in Tasmania. But there's no wild koalas for a long time that have been found in Tasmania. Now we have them in Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia. We don't know, see how she's sitting? She is quite warm. They haven't had sun for a while, so they're going, so what they do is, if they are hot, they are perfect for the Australian environment. If she was too hot, she'd go up the back. They open their hands and their feet like she's doing right here. You can see those 2 thumbs, 3 fingers. So what they do when they do open their hands and their feet, that gets the airflow through in their body, so they don't sweat. So that's how they can cool down a lot. Up the back here, if she was too hot, she will get down. It's 10 degrees cooler up here. So we've built this exhibit so it's suitable for 45-degree heat. Under here is insulated. We've got sprinklers, and every koala exhibit we do build now is insulated because it just gets a bit too warm. And the animals are a bit spoilt in human care. And all we have to do is roll these perches. Perches have got to be more than 1.8 high. You've got to have tin on the sides of the exhibit so your koalas can't climb up. You're not allowed to have concrete in front of you guys. You can have it behind the back of the house. So we have sand. I only put this rubble in here. My staff don't like this at all. It's a bit hard to pick up the feces. But it does flood in here. So we have to make sure it's not going to get washed away. And what we find is as well, the leaf. So they only live on eucalyptus leaf. It is getting less and less these days because there's not a lot of trees left. I might put this up to a bit shade. So there's 2 animals in the entire planet that live on a gum tree, and they live in Australia. So the koala and the greater glider. They are the only 2 animals in the entire world that can live on a eucalyptus tree. Other animals can eat it. Most of our animals are nocturnal, our kangaroos, most animals can eat it, especially Australian animals. but they have another food source. Koalas only have gum trees, same with the greater glider. Now, unfortunately, they are the two animals that have become endangered this year. The koala was put on the endangered species list in February, and the greater glider was put on 2 weeks ago. So it's telling us there's no trees. That's what it's telling us. Too much urban development. No trees. Now there's a saying in the koala world, no tree, no me. So if we keep doing what we're doing, extinction for these guys is going to be very quick. And Australia already has the highest mammal extinction rate on the planet. Australia destroys more animals than any other country on this earth. Nothing to be proud of. We always have. So you can't blame any government, because that big report got released this week for our fauna and flora. It wasn't good. Everyone's blaming each other. We've had the worst extinction rate for the last 10 to 15 years. So it's not one government's fault. So we do have to change that. Now with their leaf, you can tell they eat the tip. So we put this in today. We do change food every single day. And you can see on this branch, she's eating the new growth. So you can see the tip's missing here. The new growth is missing. So the little leaves, not a lot of tip left on that one. She's eaten all of them. The younger leaf, so that's what tip is, a nice new growth, contains more water and less toxicity. Eucalyptus leaf are poisonous. Koalas got a very specialised digestive system, same with the greater gliders, to be able to live on this food. So what they do is, because we change that food every day, they eat the tips. And they don't eat a lot of mature leaf. Now the mature leaf is a lot healthier. The tips just taste nicer. So how I explain it to you guys, chocolate, vegetables. Okay? They're going to go for the sweet stuff first, the nicer stuff, the easier stuff on their teeth. But the mature leaf is very important. So what they do is they just have a nap, and their naps are like 18 to 20 hours long, and then they wake up and there's brand new food in here. It's like magic. So in human care, they eat a little bit differently to their wild cousins. In the wild, they'll eat anything. In human care, they're a little bit spoiled. But they double the lifespan in human care. So in the wild, their lifespan's around 10 to 12. In human care, it can get over 12 to 15. The oldest one that I've had was 22. I used to have, where I used to work, we had the oldest koalas in New South Wales, so it was pretty cool. But I had really good genetics. So that 22-year-old, I hand raised at 12 centimetres, and she died in my arms 22 years later. So they can live quite a long time in human care. We have vets, we have part of their digestive system as an elephant. 2 metres long. Think of an elephant, and then think of that. And they've got the same size same size cecum that helps them digest their food. Now, how they get rid of all the bad stuff out of their body from the leaf, they go to the toilet a lot. So koalas will poo up to 200 times a day. So I come in here quite early. Thank you. Ernie, leave it alone. Thanks, mate. I come in here quite early. Make them in. And if I don't see a lot of fecals on the ground, I'll get my staff to count them. It's very, very important we know how much fecal output they have. Because what she's eating today takes over 100 hours to digest. So what she eats today comes out next week. And you've got to remember, she's eating a toxic tree. So we don't want it to stay in her belly for longer than it has to. So if it stays in her belly for as longer, it rots and ferments, and it makes them sick. And they stop going to the toilet. And if you don't go to the toilet, you pass away. So we make sure that this food is fresh. We make sure that we know what we're doing when we count the fecal output, and it stays nice and healthy and happy. We don't want to medicate koalas. If the more medication they have to get, the less stomach flora they have to be able to digest their food. So it's not good when we medicate koalas too much. That's why we can't stress them out. We've got to look after what we've got, especially in the wild. Now with that Joey that's there, that cute little Joey, another ironic thing about a koala, not only does it eat toxic leaf, the koala joey is not born with the gut flora to digest the gum leaves. It hasn't got the stomach bacteria to eat a gum leaf. Who made this animal? So what mum has to do, the first solid food that joey eats is not leaves, it's what we call pap. And it's a sticky substance that looks like poo. And that gets covered in chocolate. Like it looks like it's just eaten so much chocolate at Easter time, it's covered from head to toe. That pap puts all the gut flora, all the good bacteria it needs to be able to digest this food, which is very, very harsh. Now, because it only eats gum leaf, it will sleep or rest 18 to 20 hours a day. A koala has to rest that long. If it doesn't rest that long, stress will be involved and it might bring out diseases. So the disease that they do get in the wild is what we call chlamydia. It's an STD. In human care, lymphoma is very common. 60% of koalas in human care die of lymphoma. And a lot die in the wild from chlamydia. So that's from a lot of it's STDs and stress. So we've got to make sure we don't stress them out. So how we can help these guys in the wild is make sure we plant lots and lots of trees. You might not plant a tree for you, you're planting a tree for your kids, kids, other animals. It takes 20 years for a koala to be sustainable in their trees. Now, if we're cutting down massive trees that are hundreds of years old, they have big hollows in them for other animals to live in, birds, small mammals. That's up to 50 years for that tree to get sustainable for those animals. So we cut down all these trees, but it's going to take 50 to 70 years to be sustainable. And that's what people don't realise. It's not just gone, it is gone for generations. So we do have to make sure we plant trees. Another thing we can do is use recyclable toilet paper. In the 2016 census, if every household used recyclable toilet paper, Australians can save 2.8 million trees a year. That was in 2016. It's going to be a lot more now because there's a lot more houses. So anything that lives in a tree, if you can afford it, please use recyclable products. You'll save any animal that lives in a tree. Now, like I said before, these guys are an amazing animal. They're the most iconic animal in Australia. There's not a lot of them left though. We actually don't know how many animals are left in Australia. We don't. We had a massive fire in 2019 and 2020. We lost in excess of 3 billion animals in Australia. Billion. And out of that, 71% of the koala population was gone in 6 months. And then we almost were starting to count and see how many koalas were left, and we had floods. So these animals have gone through so much in the last 4 or 5 years. And they're estimating more rain and more flood by the year. They give birth to a 2-centimetre joey. Marsupials give birth to a 2-centimetre joey. It weighs half a gram. You kids, how you can get it, what it looks like? A jelly bean. You like lollies? Yum. So next time you're having a look at a jelly bean, that's what a little koala or a kangaroo looks like. For us, a coffee bean. So what the mum has to do is help that joey come out when it's born, 30 to 36 days for a koala. We check around the 35-day mark. And then once that joey's born, the mum will lick a saliva trail up to the pouch. And that'll help that little joey go into the pouch, attach itself to a teat, stay in the teat for about 5 or 6 months. It won't move. How perfect are those 2 little thumbs there? See how heavily they're breathing? They're trying to cool themselves down. Again, not used to the sun. But they're fine. So when they eat as well, they drink at the same time. So, I don't know if I mentioned before, there's 80% moisture in the eucalyptus leaf, low carbohydrates and fats and starches. So koalas eat a low nutritional value food. Kids, they can't eat a lot of different foods like fruits and vegetables and breads to give us lots of energy. They only eat gum leaves, so therefore they sleep 18 to 20, or sleep or rest 18 to 20 hours a day. Now, in the wild though, they can run quite quickly, about 20 k's an hour, 20 to 30 k's an hour, and travel 2 kilometres a night. You don't see that because you're at home in bed. So when we're researching, we go out in the real early part of the morning or late at night, and then we'll catch the animals, we'll tag them, we'll blood test them to make sure they haven't got any diseases, and then we'll do a lot of research that way. Now, a lot of people also ask me, do these animals use an over or an underpass? So, koalas aren't the brightest animals on the planet. They don't use, she's going to go at the back because she's a bit warm. Don't know when they're too hot, but you see her walk away. They don't move like a normal animal. Change the mind. What are you doing, Sean? So they don't run too quick, like they don't run like this. They do. She's not running anyway. But you can see her, she'll go up to the back there. It's straight away cooler up here. They can climb up trees we can't even hide. So they are very, very strong. So do they use an under or an overpass? So an under and an overpass is something over a road or under a road. These guys, not really. So what we're trying to figure out now with the groups that I work with is trying to build using different products, different trees, different materials to try to encourage these guys to use that over an underpass, because there's not a lot of them left, so we have to make sure we do protect them in the next 10 to 15 years. So you guys can see them when you're older, and all your kids can see them as well. There is hope. Like I said, these kids are amazing. They're a beautiful bunch of people. We've actually got government support, which is fantastic. And the next generation, not these little ones, but the ones above it, are very technology based. You guys know video games. But they're also super smart. So when I research, again, I've been doing this for 19 years. When I was a bit younger, I didn't have that technology. I had to spend all night looking for clues and looking up and find it. Now we've got drones, we've got heat sensor technology. So that's what the technology is really good for, especially looking after animals after a fire. So we just shut drones that have got heat sensors, we find a lot of animals that way. So we need technology. So that's what the next lot of people are, which is good. But we also need these next ones to be keepers. If you guys want to be a zookeeper or a wildlife conservationist, we need that as well. So hopefully you get to guys do that when you're older. Hope so. Any questions, guys? No questions? What's your questions? I like them too. You're just going to say you like them as well?
它这两个没有动，它是那个。